Good morning. I got a new car. This is my 2007 Honda Civic Si. Got it with 76,000 miles for 10 grand. I've been getting an important errand done, and I'm going to tell you all about this car, why I got it, and what the plans are for this channel. I needed something that could do everything, and by everything I really mean everything. I need something that can haul stuff, so I got the 4-door. I need something that can haul people, so I got the 4-door. I wanted something naturally aspirated. I wanted something that, I wanted it naturally aspirated so that I can take it to the track and not have to worry about cooling issues with the turbo. So I definitely needed a jack of all trades kind of car. I wanted it to be cheap so I can pay for the track days, which are expensive. I wanted something that would come stock. This car is bone stock, aside from these window tints. So I'm going to give you some driving impressions of this car, and then talk about what we're going to do on this channel going forward with the Civic. So I sold the CRZ. The CRZ was a lot of fun. I did quite a few mods to it, coilovers, front and rear sway bars, a couple of minor engine modifications to make it just a little bit quicker. I mean, it was a very slow car, but it was a lot of fun, and it reignited my passion for manual transmissions. That's kind of the big thing about that car, because I hadn't had a manual for 3 or 4 years. So, the CRZ did its job. It got me interested in driving manual again. It had a really smooth shifter, even smoother than this one, but almost a feather light clutch. Really easy to shift into gears in that car, and this is pretty much the same, but this car is a little bit more finicky. A lot of people have issues with particularly third gear in the 8th gen Civic Si, where it sometimes grinds going into gear and it'll pop out of gear on its own sometimes. This car doesn't really have that problem. As long as you put the clutch in, you press the clutch in fully, it will go into gear, whether no matter which gear that is. But it doesn't necessarily pop out of gear on its own, but as soon as you touch it, once it's in third gear and you're at high revs, it'll pop right out as soon as you touch it. So no problem there yet, but maybe it can develop over time. I was looking more at a 9th gen because it was a little newer, and I was hoping to keep the purchase price under $20,000 for something with relatively low miles. I mean, the car market is crazy right now, but I lucked out. I think I really lucked out with this one. This was a private sale, not too far from me. I found the guy on Facebook Marketplace, and it's got, what are we at now? I've used it a little bit. 76,000 miles, 76,293 miles. The cool thing, the main things about this car that really intrigued me is that the red line is 8200 stock. It's got the 2-tier dashboard that I really like. Other than that, it's pretty simple inside. Not much wrong with the car. The headliner here is sagging a little bit. This thing sags. I have it pressed up against the the mirror here, because if I don't, it'll just fall. It won't stay up. It does a little bit now because I got this stuff mounted to it. But for now, I got it set that way. I just ordered a new one of these. The shift boot is a little bit ripped up. I'm gonna probably get a new one of those and maybe a different shifter, just to try something different. Back seats are pretty good. It's got a sunroof. It's got traditional true VTEC, and that's kind of cool. I've never had, my previous Honda Civic Si, which was an EP3, didn't have proper VTEC. And it'd be nice to play with this many revs when I'm at the track. VTEC kicks in, I think, at 5,800 RPMs in this car. So all the power is high up. It comes with 197 horsepower stock, and there's a little bit of that pop out. If I don't press in the clutch all the way, it will give some trouble going into third gear. So I just got to remember, it's just things to learn as I figure out the best way to drive this car. In my experience, it takes a few months to really get a good grasp on a new car. I mean, to get really, really comfortable with it. You can't just walk into a car and fully understand it. If you think you can, then you're just kind of being arrogant. To really get a car, you gotta use it for a while and kind of know the ins and outs, know exactly how much pressure to put on the throttle to rev match, and know what revs the car likes to be in certain situations. So I'm gonna take my time and learn it. The idea for this car is it's gonna be a long-term car. I'm gonna very slowly build it up. The plan is to kind of build it up to fit into SCCA time trials, the sport class for that, which allows me to do some mods, but nothing too drastic. Really the only ones that are kind of limiting for me is no coilovers. You have to do shocks and springs, so that's a little unusual compared to past builds I've done. But the reason for that is basically it kind of forces me to stick within a budget for this car. Again, most of the cost that'll go with this car going forward, if it's going to be used as a track car, is brake pads, tires, and entry fees for the track events, which tend to be around $300 to $400 for my local tracks. I live near Summit Point. School bus. I live near Summit Point in West Virginia. I live in Northern Virginia, and I'm also pretty close to Dominion Raceway. So those are the tracks I'm planning on frequenting. Tonight I'm going to attend my first track event in this car, although it's not really a true track event. It's like a 2-hour education, and you get a couple sessions on the track. Not a proper HPDE, but an opportunity to get my feet wet in this car while it's totally bone stock. Well, aside from one thing that we're going to be doing right now. So I'll slowly build this car up. I'm going to track all my progress on the track, pun intended. And I'm gonna take you guys through my eyes of what it's like to start becoming start going to the track, because I haven't really done it before. I did the exotic car track experience with a Lambo in Las Vegas, but you know, that's not really the same thing as building and taking your own car to the track. So, you know, I told you guys the things I like about this car. I mean, the handling's pretty good as well. The high rev limiter is really the best part. It's so willing to rev. It's so easy to just kind of push on. It's begging you for more. It's a Honda, so it's reliable. It's just kind of asking for it. You just kind of, you know, it wants to be beat on, so you beat on it. Things I don't like, let's get into that a bit. The seating position is higher than I would have liked, even at the lowest setting. I guess, I mean, it makes sense. It's a Civic at the end of the day. So the seating position's too high for what I would have ideally liked. Ideally, again, I would have liked rear-wheel drive. But there's little to no options in my price range for what, you know, to cover all the things I was looking for. A lightweight, sporty car that can handle track duty, that'll be reliable as a daily driver as well. So, you know, to get the perfect car, sometimes you have to compromise on something. So for my needs, I think this is the perfect car if it was rear-wheel drive, but it's not. So I had to compromise on that. So if it's not rear-wheel drive, I look for the next best thing, front-wheel drive with an LSD. So with a couple of alterations, you know, a bigger sway bar, I'm going to run a reverse staggered setup with the wheels and tires, bigger wheels and tires in the front than in the back. That should eliminate most of the understeer, get the car to rotate nicely on the track. So that's kind of how I'm going to, you know, cope with that fact. But other than that, I mean, nothing really. It is kind of an old car, so no amenities like heated seats or a backup camera or, you know, Apple CarPlay. The steering wheel is a bit worn, so, you know, I might get that fixed. But, you know, other than that, it's a comfortable car. It revs nicely. Oh, there's one big thing that I just hate. I just can't stand it at this point. The rev hang on this car is brutal. You have to shift so slowly because you got to wait for those revs to drop. Otherwise, you can't drive this car smooth. I hate that so much. I'm finding it to be really, really annoying. So that's why today we're going to do the first mod to this car, and I really wanted to get this video out before I do any mods to it. But the first mod that I'm going to be doing is I'm getting a Honda Flash Pro, and I'm going to use the base map for now to just get rid of the rev hang. Lower the VTEC engagement point from 5800 to I think it's like a two-step VTEC engagement. The first step would engage at 4350 and the second one kicks in at 5800 as well, like how it is in stock. And then lastly, I think it raises the rev limiter a little bit to 8600, which apparently is safe for this car to go up that way. Then I'm going to be getting an intake, and we will do a eTune by eTunes, and we'll kind of just get the most out of this car. And you know, that might change, but really that's, for at least now, that's really it for power. I think for what I need this car to do, it has enough power to learn how to drive on the track, you know, safely and fast. This car has more than enough power for what I need it to do at this point. So after that, it'll just be wheels, tires, suspension, and really the most important thing, just getting seat time so I can learn how to get faster and learn how to get better. So, you know, that's the plan for this channel. I needed a car that can do everything, especially the track thing, because that's what I really want to get into now. So yeah, this is the Civic Si. And you know, thanks for taking this ride with me.